welcome. In this series of videos, we're going to talk about updating linked list. We will start by adding and deleting from the front of the list. It turns out with a linked list, doing work at the front of the list is very easy. Doing work at the end of the list is hard, which is a reverse of what the situation is with arrays. So let's take a look at inserting a node as the first node in the list. Typically, there are always two cases you must handle. The first case is if the list is empty. The second case typically is if the list is not empty. So if I want to add a node, and I suppose the value that we want to add is a 5, then if the list is empty, what's required? Well, I need to create a node, put a 5 in it, and make head point to this node. And then because the list was empty, I say the list stops here. Is that clear? So what does that involve? Well, first of all, it says, number one, you want to do a new. Right. Next thing we want to do is put the data into the node. Load the data. And the third thing we want to do is, I'm doing this the wrong way. Anyway, is to set this and then finally make head point to the new node. All right. Now there are some code patterns that also are present that I will show you in a minute. But before we worry about the code, let's make sure the actions are clear. All right. So now, what if the list is not empty? What do we have to do? Well, we have to do a similar thing. How can you tell that this list is empty? You should have done a check for head being null. If it's null, it's empty. So in this case, it must not be empty so that there are some nodes in the list. So what do we have to do? We have to create a new node, put the value 5 in it. And now what has to occur? Well, this new node, let's call it P, must become the first node in the list. So if this node is the first node in the list after we do the insertion, then what used to be the first node must now become the second node. So we must make the next field of the new node point to the first node in the list. What else is pointing to the first node in the list? Head is pointing to the first node of the list. So this action here really means P point next. Will point to the same thing that head points to. I can assign the head pointer to this next field because they're both pointers. Okay? And then finally, once we have established that the new node points to what used to be the first node, then now we can say redirect head to say head points to that. All right? So those fairly clear. Let's take a quick look at the coding for that. If I want to do this, we say if the list is empty, make the list, slow down. Whenever we do an insertion, we always need a brand new node. So we allocate a new node and we can fill in the data portion. We can also, in many cases, just assume that the next field would be null. So this code occurs before you try to do anything with the list. Step 2 is the insertion, and we've shown you what happens if the list is empty and what if the list is not empty. And so what you see here are just code pieces that are required to accomplish this. We're going to stop right here.